Turning now to new charges in the Flint water crisis. The head of the Department of Health and Human Services, Lyon, has been charged with involuntary manslaughter and misconduct in office. The chief medical director, Dr. Eden Wells, is facing obstruction of justice charges. And these are just the latest criminal charges. The additional charge of involuntary manslaughter now has been added to 4 others already charged, including former emergency manager Darnell Early. And this is related to the outbreak of Legionnaire's disease and what the Attorney General says was gross negligence in failing to alert the public about Legionnaires until a year later. And still, they're looking for the actual solid connection between the Flint water crisis and the contaminated water and Legionnaires. You had 12 people who died from Legionnaires, 100 people who they believe are sickened by it. So there's a couple of different elements to this story. First, I want to talk about the fact that you have people so high up now in state government who have been charged. Nolan, what do you make of these charges?
Well, I think the charges are curious and they may be specious until you can tell someone, until you can establish a 100% connection between the water and the Legionnaires and eliminate other probable causes like the hospital. I mean, it just as easily could have been the hospital. I don't see how you charge anyone with manslaughter or anything else for not alerting the public to the threat. If you didn't know the threat came from the water. This looks to me like a real stretch on Schuette's part. I think he's way out there in a dangerous area. And
dangerous how? You believe that he is doing this ... Why?
I don't know. I think it doesn't. I think, you know, you'd hate to say, well, he's ruining people's lives for his political purposes, but these are really shaky charges.
And we've never seen, again, people of this level in government being charged in this way.
Not with this guy. I mean, this is a 15-year felony if you're convicted of it. I mean, that's a very serious charge. I think it would be very hard to prove in front of a jury for some of the reasons that Nolan was talking about. It is hard to establish the connections here. I suspect that this is about putting pressure on those people to give the Attorney General more information, to close some of the loops, maybe with regard to people a little higher up. I mean, these are not, you can look at these charges and say there's no way he's going to drag people through this number of trials for involuntary manslaughter on this case. I mean, that's crazy. He's trying to get plea deals, and in those plea deals, he may extract other information from those people that maybe up to this point they have not been particularly cooperative.
But we've been saying that from the beginning with these charges, and I don't think we've seen any evidence yet.
No, that's right.
Of that happening. So, you know, you wonder if the whole point is just
no one has been charged with this kind of thing yet. I mean, this is
not with involuntary manslaughter, and it's from one death. But one thing that also, or two things that also stand out to me is the fact that Governor Snyder came out yesterday and said he has full faith in Dr. Wells and also in Lyon, that they are still remaining on the job, number one. But then number two, the fact that Attorney General Bill Schuette kind of dangled this weird open door of we haven't been able to speak to the governor yet, and we'll see. It's kind of a very strange,
reckless, irresponsible on Schuette's part. Sure when he was asked that question, he should have said, "We're not going to talk about any pending investigations until our investigation goes further." To leave that door open, to intentionally create the impression that Rick Snyder is a target of this and may face charges in the future, I think it was irresponsible as a law enforcement officer for him to do that. I don't blame Snyder for being angry.
Well, yeah, I think.
Do you think it was irresponsible and reckless?
I don't think it was irresponsible and reckless. I think he's trying to get. Why didn't the governor talk?
Governor says he wasn't asked to talk.
Waiting for a subpoena.
I think this is about pressuring those people who have been charged to help open that door into the governor's office. I think that we're awfully close to it at this point. It's, you know, this is a cabinet level appointee who, and if you read the information that's in the charging document, I mean, really, really outrageous behavior. The only question is whether you can connect it to this Legionnaire's outbreak. But the idea that Lyon should keep his job and Eden Wells should keep her job, that's really outrageous. Think about the number of times we've seen cabinet officers charged here in the city of Detroit, for instance. Can you imagine if Kwame Kilpatrick had kept people around when they were charged with crimes, or if Coleman Young had the kind of screaming that we would have heard?
I think the governor doesn't think
that?
much of the charges, and as he pointed out, you've had people suspended for over a year now and not had their day in court. And I think obviously there's a political row between the governor and Bill Schuette.
Yeah, but I think also though when you say that people haven't been in court yet in a year, I think we also still have to step back and say there are people that still can't drink water out of their tap without a filter in the city of Flint, and that's been going on for a long time. All right, guys, we're going to have to wrap it up and leave it there.